The beginning, the spirit of Mes Thắm. Let me tell you a chilling true story that happened decades ago in a small village in An Giang, Vietnam. This story was shared by a young man who heard it directly from his mother. Back then, his mother lived in a close-knit neighborhood where everyone knew each other. One of her closest friends was a woman named Thắm. They were the same age, often spending time together, and Thắm was known by everyone for her kind heart, friendly smile, and gentle nature. People in the village adored her. Thắm had a husband and 2 small children. But tragedy struck not long after she gave birth to her second child. She fell seriously ill, and despite every effort, her condition kept worsening. In the end, she passed away while still very young, leaving behind her grieving husband and 2 little children, one barely over a year old, the other not even 5. Everyone in the village mourned deeply. The loss of such a kind young mother shook the whole community. After her passing, her husband and the 2 children stayed in their old house. But soon, something strange began happening. When Thắm was alive, she was gentle and harmless. But after her death, strange disturbances started. People in the neighborhood began reporting that her spirit was wandering, causing mischief and frightening the locals. Villagers whispered that because she died young, leaving her children behind, her soul hadn't been able to move on. Instead, it lingered restlessly. At first, her husband didn't believe the rumors. He claimed she never bothered anyone at home. But as time went by, even he couldn't deny the strange happenings. He would hear sounds in the middle of the night, the clattering of bowls and pots as if someone was rearranging the kitchen. Every night, the sounds would go on and on. He prayed to her spirit, begging her to stop. But the disturbances never ceased. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore. He took the children and moved back to his parents' house, which was across a wide river. Back then, there were no bridges. Only small boats could take you across. Once the family left, the house was abandoned. And that's when Tham's spirit grew even more active. Villagers became so frightened that they avoided walking past the house at dawn or late at night. Sometime after Miss Thắm passed away, strange incidents started spreading beyond her abandoned house. Villagers were already whispering about her restless spirit, but no one expected what was about to happen to a traveling doctor. There was a man who worked as a traveling herbal doctor. He would ride his old bicycle from village to village, carrying a wooden box full of medicine strapped to the back of his bike. As he rode, he would call out, offering to diagnose people's illnesses and sell them herbal remedies. One day, as he passed through the village where Thắm had lived, something strange happened. He was casually riding past her abandoned house, calling out his usual sales pitch, when suddenly he heard a woman's voice calling out, "Sir, sir, please come in." He stopped, puzzled. The voice had clearly come from inside the house. Not knowing anything about the rumors, he simply assumed someone inside needed medical help. Parking his bicycle in front of the house, he grabbed his wooden medicine box and stepped inside. Inside, a woman appeared. She looked perfectly normal. She smiled and spoke softly. "Doctor, I'm not feeling well. Please check me and give me some medicine." The doctor sat down across from her and reached for her hand to check her pulse. The moment his fingers touched her skin, a chill shot through his body. Her hand was ice cold, unnaturally cold, like touching a block of ice. At first, he thought perhaps she was just severely ill, but as he tried to feel her pulse, there was nothing. No heartbeat. No pulse at all. He moved his fingers to different spots on her wrist, desperately searching. Still nothing. Just cold, lifeless skin. Confused, he finally asked, "Miss, your skin is freezing cold, and I can't feel your pulse. This is very strange." That's when the woman suddenly burst into laughter, a chilling, hollow laugh that echoed through the house. "Of course there's no pulse," she said, her voice turning eerie. "I'm already dead. How can a dead person have a heartbeat?" In that instant, her face transformed. Her skin turned ghostly white, her eyes became black voids, and her lips drained of all color. The doctor froze in horror. Without thinking, he grabbed his medicine box and bolted out of the house, leaving his bicycle behind. He ran as fast as he could toward the village center, where a few early vendors were already setting up their stalls. The villagers saw him staggering in, pale and drenched in sweat, clutching his medicine box, but missing his bicycle. They rushed over. "Doctor, what happened? Were you robbed? Are you okay?" Still shaking, it took him a while to catch his breath. Then, with trembling lips, he recounted everything he had just witnessed. The villagers exchanged nervous glances. They immediately knew who he had encountered. "You've just met Tham's spirit," they whispered. "She's been haunting that house ever since she died." The doctor was terrified. "My bicycle is still in front of her house," he said, his voice quivering. "I don't dare go back and get it. Please, can someone help me?" A few brave villagers eventually retrieved the bicycle for him, but that night left a permanent scar on the doctor's mind. After the traveling doctor's terrifying encounter spread through the village, the fear surrounding Miss Tham's haunted house only grew stronger. People avoided passing by the place, especially at night. But not everyone stayed away. In that village lived 4 men who, despite hearing the rumors, had never seen the ghost themselves. Though they were afraid, curiosity and greed got the better of them. One evening, as they gathered to drink rice wine, one of them spoke up after a few cups. "You know, they say Tham's spirit is really powerful. If she's so strong, maybe she can give us some lucky numbers. We could offer her some gifts, ask for numbers, and if we win, we'll come back and repay her." The others, emboldened by the alcohol, agreed. On a sober day, none of them would have dared. But that night, their courage was fueled by greed and drunken bravado. They bought candles, incense, and candies as offerings. Then, near midnight, they paddled a small wooden boat toward Tham's abandoned house, which sat right by the riverbank. Carefully, they tied the boat to a post and climbed up to the house through the back door. The house was pitch dark, and though they trembled with fear, the alcohol dulled their senses just enough for them to proceed. They lit the candles, laid out the offerings, and began to pray. "Miss Thắm, if you're really here and hear us, please give us some lucky numbers," one of them whispered. "If we win big, we promise to return with more offerings." Suddenly, bang! They all jumped as something heavy hit the wooden floor behind them. Heart pounding, they turned their heads. It was a severed human head rolling toward them. Before they could even process what they were seeing, bang! Another loud thud. This time, an arm dropped from nowhere, landing right beside the head. Then came another, the other arm, then the torso, then one leg, and then the other. Piece by piece, an entire dismembered human body had appeared right in front of them. One of the 4 men couldn't take it. He fainted on the spot. The remaining 3, frozen in terror for a moment, finally found the strength to run. They bolted out the back door, leapt into the boat, and frantically tried to paddle away. But no matter how hard they paddled, the boat wouldn't move. The rope was still tied. As they scrambled to untie it, a voice echoed from inside the house, the same hollow voice they had just prayed to. "Leaving so soon? Where are you going? Come back. I haven't given you the numbers yet." The men finally freed the rope and paddled away as fast as they could. The next morning, the man who fainted managed to crawl back home, but all 4 of them fell seriously ill afterward, burning fevers and chills for days. Their families had to prepare offerings and return to the house to pray for forgiveness. Only after that did their conditions slowly improve. After the husband and his 2 young children moved to his parents' house across the river, everything seemed peaceful for a while. But something far more chilling was yet to happen. One morning, the father woke up in his room. As usual, his 2 children had been sleeping right beside him. But this time, when he opened his eyes, the kids were gone. At first, he thought they had simply woken up early and gone out to play with their grandparents or uncles and aunts. So he calmly walked out and asked his parents where the children were. But his parents hadn't seen them at all. Panic quickly spread through the household. They searched every corner of the house, checked outside, even asked the neighbors. No one had seen the children. The father grew increasingly desperate. What if they had wandered off and fallen into the river? The Mekong Delta was full of rivers, canals, and dangerous waterways. The thought terrified him. Hours passed, but there was no trace of the children. Then, out of nowhere, a terrifying thought struck him, one that made his blood run cold. Could it be? Thắm? Was her spirit somehow involved? Driven by a sudden, unexplainable instinct, he rushed back across the river toward their old house, the very house they had abandoned. When he arrived and opened the door, his heart nearly stopped. The 2 children were there, sitting happily inside, playing and laughing like nothing had ever happened. The father stared in disbelief. How could they possibly have crossed the large river? They were far too young to even walk that distance on their own, let alone cross a dangerous river without help. He asked the older child, "Who brought you here? How did you get here?" Smiling innocently, the child answered, "Mommy brought us. We missed Mommy. She came and took us back to play." The father's legs weakened and his mind spun. There was no way this could have happened by natural means. Later, he asked around. Some villagers recalled hearing dogs barking furiously that night, as if